That little taster there is the sound of a brand new synthesizer from Ashun Sound Machines. This is the release date. This isn't a full review because literally I got this yesterday and I've only really had a chance to play around with it a couple of hours, maybe kind of try a few patches. Well, what is this? Well, this is it. It is called the HYDRASYNTH, and the HYDRASYNTH is a purely digital synthesizer. It has 8 voice polyphony, monotimbral. It's actually got, the other thing that's very interesting about it, it's got its own brand new keybed, and this is something that they've made themselves. This has poly aftertouch, and they call it Polytouch. It's also got this ribbon controller here. So we're starting to get into kind of CS80 expressive territory here, and that's something that they say they wanted to do. You know, they wanted to get into that kind of zone because it's a bit of a holy grail, that people say. Essentially what we have is 8 voices, 3 oscillators, and 2 filters, 5 envelopes, 5 LFOs, and it's a it's a morphing wavetable synth, which means so the oscillators 1 and 2 can have up to 8 slots, which it can then morph for. You can dial in, I think it's 219, somewhere around that, digital waveforms, and then you can morph between them to create these wonderful sounds. The overview, you can see here, quite Ensoniq-like. I've never owned any Ensoniq products, but they had this kind of notion, as the SQ80 stuff had these buttons which would load the menu items for these modules. So if I press a button and I load the module, what then happens here is the center section becomes the parameter access for whatever that is going on there. It's quite intuitive actually, and the fact that all these knobs have kind of rotary encoder status is actually really good. And if you've got more pages, you just page up and down between them. It's quite intuitive actually. But anyway, more about the synth. The other thing that this has got is these called mutants. So 2 mutants, 1 for each oscillator. And what these allow you are these sort of modifiers. So things like pulse width modulation, sync. There's 3 types of pulse width modulation, FM, all kinds of stuff going on there. So we're able to then modify it even further. And all of this comes together in a mod matrix, which is 32 slots. 32 slots, folks. That is a lot of mod. We've got these dedicated filter controls, which are sort of easy to get to. Dial in one filter. The filter has multiple modules on filter 1, and then a sort of SEM style variable a variable type of filter, low pass, high pass, band pass. So I should probably play a few sounds. The idea with this really is just to say, hey, it's here. This is what I've got out of it so far. And, you know, the review will be forthcoming. I just haven't got time to do it, you know, before the time it arrived, and now it's been announced. I should also mention there's a Arpeggiator here, which has this interesting ratchet and chance thing, so it's quite performative. There's also CV and gate in and out here, so we can interface with this. And we've got, of course, modern pitch wheels. Now these change colour. I don't know why they change colour. I haven't actually got that far, but I'm quite interested to see how that works. The other thing that's very interesting about this is the ribbon. The ribbon can be just a pitch bend. So pitch bend, if I press the ribbon, I can also get it to be theremin, which means I can quantize it. Which means I'm playing that note sort of on top of the chord, so there's a performative aspect, or I could use it for modulation purposes. So it's a really, it's kind of quite a powerful aspect of it. Right, a couple more sounds. This one just sounds absolutely massive. And I've got this velocity happening, and there's a sort of random key trig thing, which means you get slightly different kind of sounds. I can't remember what I did on the actual sound, but it just, I think it just sounds really nice. Here's another one. This is called, what did I call this? Glissy Fit. And I'm modulating the effects in here. I think it's the feedback of the, I believe it's the feedback of the chorus. which is a post effect. We've got a reverb and we've got a delay as separate effects. Then at the end we've got this insert effect, which can be multiple effects types, mostly modulation, but there's tremolo and EQ and compression. Let's have another look at another sound. Oops, I don't want to save that. Just hit exit there. Oh, this is another one which I think I made. This is more Arpeggiator. Another lovely sound. Right, let's have a look at another one. I must admit, as I was flicking through the presets, that some of them are, you know, as you'd expect. I think there's 3 banks of 128. Let's double check that. Does it go? No, D. So hold on. D, E. Actually, there's more. E. Yeah, E, A, B, C, D, E. So there's 5 banks of 128 patches. So let's just get down to another couple of patches that I found. This is a sort of distorted pad sound that I made because you can have the distortion pre or post filter. Again, this is all digital stuff, so it's still, but it's still. Bandpass filter, a lovely reverb. What have I got on the reverb? Got a sort of cloud reverb, and you can freeze the reverb as well, which I'll just do that. Lovely. Try another sound. This is a variant of that, which again I just sort of found some really nice sweet spots in this. And this is a really distorted. This one I called Grunge Cello. Yeah, this has got. And what I think I'm doing in this one is there's a lot of distortion post filter, but then in the filter you can actually blend. If I hit the filter, I think it's filter 1. Let's see which. No, maybe it's mixer. Yeah, you can blend with how much of each of these oscillators and pan, for instance, goes to the filter and how much bypasses the filter. So some really, there's some great. From initial look like it seems like it's going to be quite an interesting synthesizer, and as far as we know, the pricing seems quite reasonable. I mean, I have to say this thing is actually built kind of like a tank. It feels really solid and chunky. You know, the build quality feels good. It's quite funny actually because the power supply is absolutely tiny, so it's obviously not using an awful lot of power. But we think this version, the 49 key, which is desktop, which has the Polytouch keyboard, is about for $1,299 US, which seems, you know, for an 8 voice with this amount of control seems fairly reasonable. And then there's also a desktop version which has pads and obviously no keyboard, and that's going to be $799. So it seems reasonably affordable. So anyway, I'm going to play out with a few more sounds. Actually, point out there's also a macro page which allows you to set these knobs up to kind of create up to 8 parameters per knob, positively and negative, for a sort of contextual sound control.